In 2020, virtual concert ticket sales surpassed $600 million in revenue in the US alone and have been growing exponentially ever since. 2023 is going to be a game changer, and not just for the big names in music. Live music is about to change for audiences and working musicians everywhere, and here's how. Hi, Nikki here from Virtuosica, a brand new virtual concert platform available now in open beta. So, what are virtual concerts? Let's start by defining exactly what a live virtual concert is. Because if you're relying on what Wikipedia says about it or how it was defined in previous decades, then you've probably got it wrong. According to Wikipedia, a virtual concert, also called a V-concert, which literally nobody calls it that, refers to a performance in which the performers are represented by virtual avatars. Incorrect. So wrong. Like any other virtual event, virtual concerts are simply live music performances that take place in one way or another online. Sure, sometimes that involves avatars and hologram design and the whole metaverse thing. But other times, it's just a band getting paid to broadcast their live performance on Zoom or a virtual concert platform. And it's not really a new concept. Duran Duran were the first to broadcast a virtual concert, indeed using avatars on Second Life back in 2006, I believe. In 2022, Korean K-pop band BTS held a 3-day international virtual concert, reaching 2.5 million fans worldwide and raking in over $90 million in ticket sales in just essentially one long weekend. Long story short, we've come a long way as far as virtual concerts are concerned, and those types of concerts now provide increased revenue opportunity as well as brand new income streams for every musician. Are virtual concerts expensive to produce? We are not talking about big international virtual concerts or live concerts in the metaverse right now. Many of those can cost upwards of $50,000 a pop or much, much more. Right here, right now, we're talking about how every working musician today can broadcast a live performance to audiences and customers via digital tools and devices and get paid for these performances. To answer your question, in today's day and age, this is not expensive at all. We'll be talking about all of this in much more detail in future videos here on the Virtuosica channel, but what you really need to know to get started and what you really need in terms of gear to get started is pretty simple. Obviously, number one, you need solid performance skills. Number two, you need basic music gear and equipment depending on your instrument and or genre. Number three, you would need a standard live streaming setup, which could be as basic as a laptop, a solid mic, and a stable internet connection or a home studio. Fourth, last but not least, you would need a virtual concert streaming platform. If you have a home studio setup or can rent a studio for a virtual concert, that's fantastic. It's even better, but it is not a requirement to get you started with virtual concerts as a musician. Let's talk a little bit about specific platforms for virtual concerts. During the pandemic, loads of musicians gave it the old college try at virtual performances using platforms like Zoom or YouTube Live. And though those platforms are great for all sorts of virtual experiences, they simply were not built for musicians and they were not built for live music. All of these tools are great for what they were built for, but now there is a whole new generation of virtual concert, live music focused platforms emerging. Think of these as online concert venues. StageIt is possibly the best known online venue that, was started ages ago, a pioneer in the area where artists can perform live directly from a laptop and sell tickets or receive tips from their audience. A great place to get actual financial support if you have a fan base and original music. A little more difficult if you don't. Then we have air gigs, which on the other hand, unlike StageIt, is probably the best known online gig board where musicians can discover and get hired for gigs. Now, while air gigs doesn't include in-platform live streaming capabilities or event promotion, they have introduced a category for hiring musicians for personalized private live streamed concerts. Think private virtual concerts, although you do have to figure out where and when to stream that concert to your customers. Obviously, there's Virtuosica, which we all know is why we're talking about this in the first place. Out of the gate, as a brand new product in this emerging market, Virtuosica was built for private live virtual concerts in mind, and we are adding ticketing to the platform as well soon. But the whole point of it, and what I mean by private live virtual concerts, is that musicians can look for private virtual gigs, get hired, get paid, and live stream right there on the platform. Interestingly, Virtuosica is also one of the very few online live music venues at all that has built-in performance rights licensing, meaning it covers 90% of copyrighted music in the US market right now and is appropriate for both original music and cover bands as well. Last but not least, there's also Bandcamp, which I'm sure many of you have heard of, and Bandcamp recently introduced integrated live streaming into their platform, as well as ticket sales and merch sales features. Bandcamp, again, is probably geared more towards musicians and bands that play exclusively or mostly original music and already have somewhat of a following. It's also a great place to, if you have original music, garner a following and get started there. So if you are at all interested in the brave new world of live virtual concerts, then you may want to keep an eye out on our brand spanking new channel. In upcoming videos, we will talk about various levels of at-home virtual concert streaming setups. We'll talk about marketing yourself as a musician or a band. We'll talk about how to get more gigs, musical career advice, a little tech advice, a little gear advice. And if you have specific questions in the meantime, email us at support@virtuosica.com or leave a comment below, and we will either respond in kind or do a whole video about it if we feel your question requires a little bit more detail. Now, go practice or I don't know, email booking agents or whatever it is that you do, and I will catch you on the flip side.